Ian McCall, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you for having me.
You're a busy man, so I'm really glad that we could finally make this happen. I've really been looking forward to talk to you, man. You do a lot of very fascinating things, which I'm super excited to get into.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. You know, busy. It's flying by the seat of my pants. I'll just say that.
Could you, for the people who may not be familiar with you, give us a brief introduction to who you are and what you do?
I am a former mixed martial arts world champion. I used to climb into a cage in my underwear and I would fight people for blood money. And I I was a superstar for a few years. I think people forgot because people forget things. It's fine. And I'm happy they did. But I reached a weird level of fame where I showed up to three different countries and girls were crying.
Crying.
Girls were actually crying that I was there. And I was like, that's fucking weird. Uh, but you when you have good mentors like I've had my whole life, you know that you're not that cool. That was the one thing that was imparted on me is, you know who Chuck Liddell is?
Mm-hmm.
So Chuck Liddell always said, remember, no matter what happens, you're not that cool. And I that stuck with me because no one's that cool. No one should be crying because you show up. Like it's a weird experience. And that's not me. That's the marketing machine. That's the UFC. That's that whole thing. Um, but now, post retirement, I'm doing the Lord's work. I am helping as many people as I can through things like traumatic brain injury. My research started with traumatic brain injury stuff, trying to heal my own TBI, and it led me to a whole bunch of other interesting things we'll get into, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, really quickly, I'm super sorry to interrupt this episode of the podcast with Ian McCall. I hope you're enjoying it so far. If you are, can I please humbly ask you to subscribe to the podcast? It's risk-free. I keep saying this because it's true. There's literally no risk associated to being subscribed to this podcast, okay? You'll get tons of benefits though. That's the great thing about it. You'll be notified, for example, whenever we put a new episode out. And I have a feeling you're going to enjoy the next couple of episodes that we have planned for you. Okay, so thank you so much. Subscribe if you haven't already, and enjoy the rest of the episodes. Did you experience some sort of arrogance from becoming a superstar in the beginning before you started adopting this "you're not so cool" mindset? Does that naturally come along with becoming a superstar?
Yeah, I mean the arrogance. I'm just the ego,
Mm,
we'll call it, is always on high with me, and I do my best to bat it down. I do psychedelic journeys when I can to keep it in check, but I'm a performer. I mean, that's
right.
been my job. I spent 5 years doing stand-up comedy recently. I, I don't do it anymore because I don't have time. You know, you get these egotistical pushes in your life, and I've had a lot of them. And I continue to combat my ego for sure. Coming down off that soapbox is a lot, but I've always had a good head on my shoulders as far as knowing that this is all silly. Knowing that I'm just a person, I'm just a human. I'll take my shirt off my back to give it to somebody that needs it.
Is there what's the danger of having an ego too large?
Ego too large.
Since you
Well,
you say that you keep trying to keep it down, what's the issue, I suppose, with having an ego that's too big?
it gets in the way. Obviously, it needs control of things. But it's also the driving force. We have to dance with it. We have to dance with our ego. You catch a tiger by the tail, You going to fight it or are you going to dance with it? And I think most people are fighting with their ego, and their ego tends to win. And if you learn to dance with it, and you learn to play and make fun with it, then life becomes much easier. You tend to um not not look at things as you once would, when you can kind of really pull back and have ego dissolution, ego death, which is a big part of psychedelics. You're able to kill that part of you off, but in more of a spiritual sense, that these pieces of you never really go away. You always have these intricacies inside of you, but you have to learn to play with them better. That's all.
Okay. So you made the McCall method.
Mm-hmm.
Walk me through that. What is that?
I've been mulling over this a bunch lately, and my method is here. My method, the things that I do, it's all in my brain. I don't put things on paper. And as I was trying to build, like, what people ask me, like, what is the McCall method? I came to the realization that I'm becoming part of a larger organism. Okay, the McCall method is all about healing. The McCall method is realistically just a soapbox, to attract attention for other people that help me heal. The other modalities that I learned, that I was taught by these other people that are masters at their craft, it's a spotlight onto what they do, because they did it for me. They can do it for you. I'm actually helping build out an athlete program for an organization called Being True to You. It's the first major coaching platform or certification you can get through psychedelics. It is so vast, so incredible. And I recently went through their certification process, and I realized I'm so out of my depth when it comes to this sort of stuff, and that I need help. I'm just one person. I'm just one simple man who is good at certain set of skills, and I have a team now. So the McCall method is evolving into something that I didn't know even was available realistically. It's a coaching platform. As a business, it's a coaching platform for other athletes who want to work through their life, who want to work through psychedelics. Psychedelics is obviously the tipping point of what the work that we do, but there is a bunch of modalities within that we use to help them either retire or perform better. There's a couple lanes to take here. There's either what's next after, what's next after our life of sports, or even with veterans, what's next after the military, or even addiction, what's after addiction, what's this next step of life. But then there's also the fun part, which is sports performance, which is taking athletes like my bare knuckle boxer, Mark Irwin. I brought him to the fighting gods, and he won a world title. He I mean, bare knuckle, just these. My fist doesn't work that well. I already see my hands a little broken here. He won a world title on 7.5 grams of mushrooms, gummies, but it's a lot of mushrooms. Like we're pushing the boundaries of known reality and sports performance, a human optimization of flow state, of all these sort of things using plant-based medicines.
When you say he won while he was on mushrooms, he was on mushrooms while he was fighting, or as part of his while he was fighting?
Yeah, we do therapeutic sessions here on the reservation, and at a Native American reservation, at a church we have called the Church for the People and Creator of Mother Earth. I'm part Native American, you know, and we take it serious. We take these medicines with reverence, but much like the berserkers, we take mushrooms and we fight. We do our sport. I've got athletes that are taking psychedelics and they're surfing, they're fighting, they're racing cars, they're doing all kinds of sports. So we're seeing this level of intensity, but also this level of performance rise to a height that we've never seen before.
So how and why do psychedelics work for athletes? What does it actually do?
Well, first off, you have the the healing aspect of it. Most athletes have brain damage. Most athletes end up hitting their head in some way, shape, or form in their sport. And when we can start to heal that portion of it, we get better, and then we enlighten them a bit. Okay, we get into the spiritual, we get into the profound changes that psychedelics can have in anybody's body. Because if you're an athlete, you have, if you've become a world class athlete, you have put everything else aside.
Mm.
You have very little life skills. Those life skills are out the window because you are obsessed with becoming the best in the world at something. I was so selfish at one point in my life. I became the best in the world at fist fighting. You know, like that's a really hard pursuit, and it's very selfish, and you lose so many life skills. Um, so we can, help people heal, help people learn these sort of things, and become a better version of themselves. But then when it comes to flow state, when it comes to performance, it's well, flow state is a very broad term for people. People think, oh, it's the flow state. Like, no, no, no. Imagine all of your senses get heightened. You see better, you hear better. You even have your sixth sense where you can feel this person's energy. Let's say for a fight, for instance, you're moving and you're faking, you're doing everything. You can see the micro adjustments in their body, the way their shoulders move. You can hear their breath. You can see their face. You can see the structure of it. You can feel the pain. You can hear it. You can when you break a man, it's like you can feel it. It's this visceral response of a snap of twigs, and you get much more heightened of that sort of stuff, to be able to perceive those things when you're on psychedelics while performing. And so you have all of your senses are heightened. Your kinetic efficiency goes through the roof. You're it's not like a steroid where you're going to actually be able to, like testosterone, for instance, is going to make you physically lift more weight,
Mm.
but it makes your body move more efficiently. Kinetic efficiency is the flow state, is the movement, the flow, everything, how it goes. And then also the creativity behind um, behind our movements, the things you haven't gone on, the things you haven't gone for in a fight ever, or you've seen on TV that you want to try. You could try it mid-match. You could actually do these things, just like that. You just fall into it. And it's really neat to see athletes doing this. And it's happening all over the place. It's not just fighting.
Wow, that's really interesting. So you're not really tripping while you're integrating the psychedelics, in the sense that, well, like, I couldn't imagine, like, you couldn't function properly if you're tripping too much.
Well, most people know, most people take a microdose. They get a little buzz, a little buzz, but they're not tripping.
Mm.
I did a jujitsu match on Saturday, for an organization called Subversive, and I took enough where I was tripping. The wall, I went to go pee before, and the walls were breathing. And I was like, cool, okay, that's enough acid for me. Um, so some of us like to be high. Some of us like that. We like to be tripping. Mark, for instance, Mark Irwin is his name. He took 7.5 grams. That's enough to put most people into orbit. That's 3.5 grams is where people have therapy. So you have a microdose, which is like a microdose you're not supposed to feel. So realistically, a microdose is supposed to be 150 milligrams and below, but it but it, I guess it's up to half a gram, which is weird. A half a gram you feel. A gram, I think from a half a gram to 2 grams is a performance dose, is what I like to call it. Is something you can go out and you go to a museum, you go on a hike, you go do things, race a car or whatever it is, surf a big wave. Um, then once you get over 2 grams, you're more or less in the intimacy dose where you probably shouldn't be doing anything. And that's only 2 grams. Most people who take 2 grams, you want to cuddle, you want to lay on the lawn, you want to be outside, you want to have a good time, but you're not really doing much. And then therapy, where you have these outer body experiences, start at about 3.5 grams. I've seen people have outer body experiences with 1 gram, 2 grams. It's wild, but 3.5 is usually the threshold. Mark was at 7.5, and he climbed into a ring and fought someone.
Wow.
I was on 5 grams in his corner. So we were super high. And as I like to say, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm a researcher, yes, but I don't have anything anyone can take from me. I don't have a degree people can lord over me with. Good science is irresponsible science. And that's the science I'm doing. We're trying to figure out what is too much, what is too far, what are the boundaries of reality, and that's kind of my mission because no one else is doing it.
Right. Yeah. Are there any concerns about testing these things? Like, let's up the doses and test and see how much, or what's going to happen if we do a few grams more. Are there any, you say you use psychedelics to heal yourself as well. Are there any negative health concerns about overdosing when you integrate this?
No, overdosing. No, there's no overdose point with this. But the testing is through what we do at the gym. We modulate up, the dose here and there, here and there, here and there, and we go and we just see what works. For now, the dose that that's the highest we've been is 7.5. And I'm not fighting, so I don't. I'm not going to take more than 5. That's my benchmark. That gets me in the space with him, where we can speak telepathically, and we can, be in synergy. We can really be as one.
So what do you think happens when you do psychedelics in terms of, because you said you can speak to each other telepathically. Do you think it opens a new sense that just can't be opened to humans otherwise? Like,
yes, for sure. For sure. Humans, we're a lot cooler than we think. We have a lot more skills than we think. If you look back at things like Atlantis, and these sort of ancient civilizations, we had more special powers. We could, like how we built the pyramids. People saying they use vibrations to sing those stones into place. There wasn't people using wood. There was people carving them with water and air, using just their bodies. We really do have special powers, but we've been so dumbed down with everything in life, in in history, you know, that we don't know our potential. And I think that humans have um, some things within us that are just so special. We have no idea about. Of
Are you familiar with Graham Hancock's lost civilization theory?
course, I
Yeah.
started I started buying books from Graham about a decade ago from my dad. My dad's this, world traveling. He smuggled cannabis around the world in the 70s. Very, very interesting person. And yeah, I love Graham Hancock. I mean,
Yeah.
I just want to sit with him and just hang out and just like smoke a joint and just talk. Just I wanted to, or to be able to go on an adventure with him and eat dinner and just like that would be my like probably the coolest thing in my life ever.
Yeah, yeah, he's so fascinating. So his theory, for those of you, the people listening that don't know, he has a theory that we had some technology that was lost in some great distinction, or what do you call that? Or a civilization that was lost with a lot of technology that was lost with it, that
Yeah,
we don't know today. So that's the pyramids, for example, that he has a theory that we had some technology that we don't know today that they used to build the pyramids.
yeah. Because there's pyramids all over the world.
Yeah.
There are pyramids, in South America. I've been to them. As a native. So my Native American lineage goes into Mexico. I think it's Aztec. I don't know, but every time I go to Aztec archaeological sites, I feel this like crazy pull towards it. Um, so it could be, maybe not. We'll see. But there's pyramids all over the place, and there's hundreds of pyramids in China
Mm.
that are completely there's no archaeological anything going on there. Um, why are there pyramids in Eastern Europe? Why are there pyramids all over the planet? These were technologies that we don't understand, obviously.
Hmm. Do you think these technologies were unlocked with psychedelics?
I think they use psychedelics for sure. I think that psychedelics were definitely a part of what they were doing. If you look at, like Graham says, if you look at the Amazon's man-made, by the way. Terra Preta is the
Mm.
soil they used. It's a garden that got overrun, is what the Amazon is. Um, you know, it, there's just so much we don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. How did you get into psychedelics and this adventure?
Well, back to my dad. My dad always said how good psychedelics were, how important they were for the world, and uh, how they were medicine. So I started smoking pot when I was 8, which is far too young. I took acid when I was 12. I started, went down that road very early and took everything very, in inappropriate fashion, but that's what kids do. Um, I didn't start to really, really appreciate psychedelics until about maybe 10 years ago, I'd say. Maybe, yeah, about 10 years ago, until I really started to like know that this is something special and that this is something that's going to change the world.
And was there a specific reason you started getting into it? You said you had brain trauma from fighting. Was that the beginning of
Yeah,
it?
yeah, I had TBIs. I had really bad traumatic brain injury, and I I used DMT, dimethyltryptamine, is what made me retire. It made me, stop fighting. It made me realize, like, look, Peter Pan, it's time to grow up. Uh, it's time to move on. You were a world champion, so many years ago. It's time to move past this and get sober. And because when I was fighting, I was on, you know, OxyContin and heroin and fentanyl. It wasn't a good look. Um, and yeah, the psychedelics is what pushed me in that way. You know, the journeys that I've done have always shown me the light. They've always pushed me in the right direction. I just listen to the medicine. The medicine tells me what I need to do, who I need to be with, where I need to go. So it's the guiding force in my life.
Hmm. So interesting. I have very little experience with psychedelics, but I find it so curious how it can be illegal in most places around the world, because most stories you hear about the healing of brain trauma or just even marijuana being a pain relief, anxiety relief. It's so curious to me how it's still illegal. I don't really understand.
Well, if you look back at ancient religions, you know, Paleo Christians, Christianity was a mushroom cult, and all religions have psychedelic basis to them. You know, the psychedelics are the vehicle to God. You want to talk to God? I have a phone. I don't have any mushrooms next to me, but I tell people, like, you want to talk to God? I have a little gummy. You can take it. You can talk to him. You know, that's God is not some bearded white man in the sky that's wagging his finger at you, telling you, I'm an all loving father, but if you fuck this up, I'm going to banish you to hell for life. No, no, no. I am an all loving father. My daughter can do no wrong. And I would never treat her that way. And what happens is you have a structure of something. Okay. And like religion is a perfect example. Man takes the structure and then shoves its hand so far up its ass and then talks for it like a puppet and uses it for manipulation and for money and for power and for influence and for greed and for all this weird things that we see now with all the weird pedophilia and just the strange, weird stuff that's happening. Man does that. It's not religion's fault. It's not, like I'm not against religion. I love religion. I'm all for creator, but man is a silly beast. And that's what we have to realize is that one of my mentors helped write a book called The Road to Eleusis. And it shows where Eleusis was a city in Greece, not mythological. This was an actual city in Greece. You can go there now, um, where Socrates, Plato, Marcus Aurelius, all these people would go, and they would go to Eleusis to ingest something called the koukion. And the koukion was spiked wine or spiked beer, some sort of spiked something, um, where they would have psychedelics in it. And a guy named Brian Murarescu wrote a book called The Immortality Key that expands on my mentor's book that he helped write with the greats of psychedelics, Gordon Wasson, Carl Rock, Timothy Leary, all these people. And it shows how chronologically how this pope, this king, this cardinal, they took away our sacrament. They replaced it with some bread and some wine that has too much alcohol in it. You know what I mean? This isn't the wine used to be psychedelic. The body of Christ used to be psychedelic. It used to be the thing. Jesus is a mushroom. Jesus wasn't a person, I don't think. I'm coming around more and more to this where Jesus was, because if you look at genetically, we are more genetically tied to mushrooms than we are to plants.
Yeah.
You ingest a mushroom and you can speak with the divine, and there's other books written about it called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. There's a few others. And you see that when you ingest or when you actually ingest psychedelics yourself, you see how you can talk to God. You see he's right here. He's right here. She, he, whatever you want to call it. It's God's within us. And it's funny because the last Pope even said that hell isn't a real place. Hell is a thing that they made up to keep us confined.
Mm.
And if hell's not real, that means heaven's not real. Everything is right now. For some reason, your energy, my energy, a dog's energy chose to live this visceral experience on Earth. Our planet is special. It is. And when your energy is out in the universe, it is, billions of years old. Both of us are made of stardust, and we are, as weird and fantastical as all this sounds, it's true. We are light beings from billions of years ago that came here to live this experience, to eat, to sleep, to fight, to hate, to love, to fuck, to come, to watch a sunset off your lover's face, to do every single thing, every visceral response we have to this thing, to suffer, to feel is why we're here. And you make your own heaven, you make your own hell, you know and there is no good, there is no bad, there just is. So as we go through this process of reincarnation, you kind of, I feel like you go through levels, and you eventually you graduate.
So you think when we die, we reincarnate? That's what
And
happens after death?
not always. Sometimes you leave, sometimes you're here once, sometimes you're here 100 times. It just depends on what was predestined, what you figured out. This is all stuff that I'm still wrapping my
Mm-hmm.
big head around. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, sure. Are you Buddhist?
I do study Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing kung fu my whole life. I'm part of Master Shi Heng Yi, his program. He's out of the Buddhist temple in Germany. So I've been training with that. I had to take a break because I've been doing some schoolwork, but yeah, I do study. I study a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Is that the religion that you feel is makes the most sense, or
Mm,
that
I
has
don't
the
know.
most truth to it, perhaps?
I'm not sure. I'm still up in the air, to be honest, because just because I'm just trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure.
No, that's good. So, is the general experience on psychedelics that you get to meet this divine power and force, is that the general experience that people will go through with psychedelics?
Yes, yeah. You meet yourself. You meet your true self. You meet the person you want to be, and you get to explore that, and you get to connect with divine. You get to connect with source, and you get to realize that God is not out there. God is within you.
And what it's probably hard to put words on, but what is that experience like?
Oh, amazing! It really is. It's incredible. Uh, Very enlightening. And you become excited for what's next.
Mm.
Because we only have only a few short years on this planet, and you realize, you become okay with the next thing that's coming. You don't fear death. You welcome it. You welcome whatever's coming at you, whether it's this life, the next, all of it. It's just all love.
Interesting, man. And so, how do you feel? I mean, I can only imagine your life has changed tremendously after all these experiences. In which ways do you feel like your life has changed? You mentioned um, beating your ego down a little bit from psychedelics. What else?
Oh, it has made me a better father. That's the most important thing in my life. I'm a single guy. For some reason, the universe keeps not letting me be in relationships. And, I get to live a life of service to others. I don't preach about God. I just started using the word God very recently. Um, but I just teach people to be themselves. I've been able to reach a level of enlightenment through my work, And I'm just trying to be the boatman that ferries people from this world to the next and brings them back safely.
That is the feeling that I get from when I talk to people who um who have experiences with psychedelics, that you get this enlightenment that community and other people become more important, that we are not just one organism, I suppose. We are all connected somehow.
Yeah, exactly. We're all one. We're all in this together. So we have to start acting like it. We can't be so dog eat dog. We have to learn to love each other a little. So not even a little more. We have to completely change this whole thing. It's not working. We've infected the world. We've become a virus. So we've become something bad. We've destroyed the planet. And we have destroyed the things that give us life. The earth will shake us off like a crust when she wants to. Mother Nature will kill us all if she has to do it. And she'll go back to being this planet. We're going to go away and she'll be fine. But we've destroyed all of our resources for sure.
Do you think humans were supposed to do psychedelics on like a regular basis for like proper life, I suppose? For
I think
proper
so.
existence? Yeah.
I think have you heard of the stoned ape theory?
Yes, that we developed our brain from.
Yeah. I think that it's it's natural that we take these medicines because it helps us evolve. It helps us um, become whatever is out there in the universe that helped create us. I think that this is all part of the evolution process. I think that this is, people want to say that we were interbred with aliens. And I think that the aliens is the mushrooms. I think the mushrooms is what's interbred with us. And that's what helps keep us evolving.
Could you explain the stoned ape theory to people who may not be familiar with it?
So Terence McKenna theorized back in the 80s and the 70s that our brains evolved. There's a leap in evolution over like 200,000 years or some 2 million years or something where our brains like doubled in size. And we went from being basically monkeys in trees to savannah, and we started chasing around charismatic megafauna, or big cows and big things like that. Um, and we would follow them and pick up their poop and eat the bugs, and then out of cow shit grows psilocybin mushrooms. And imagine being the first monkey to eat a mushroom and
Hmm.
start to like have the thought of talk, or how to throw, or how to get fire, all that sort of stuff, and how to kill things, how to build spears and knives and all that. So as our with the constant ingestion of psilocybin through a process called, which we now know is we know the process of epigenetic neurogenesis is true, which is the production of certain chemicals in the brain, like brain derived neurotrophic factor and glutamate. Your brain heals and evolves. Well, on a lower primate monkey brain, you constantly give it psilocybin over an extended period of time. The brain theoretically grew and evolved into what we have now as humans, and um, we became exactly what we are.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. So essentially, psychedelics would be at the bottom of the pyramids of needs, along with nutrition. It would be as important as sleep and human connection for a proper human existence, I suppose.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, that's so fascinating, man. Ian, thank you so much for coming on. This was such a blast talking to you.
Thank you.
Where can people find your work and connect with you?
So, if you look on social media, my name is obviously Ian McCall on there. I have the McCall Method, which is my coaching platform. It's my for-profit business. If you want to be coached by me as an integration coach, or if you know anyone, more importantly, that's money, that's business, that's stuff that I try not to chase. I have a nonprofit called Athletes Journey Home, where I'm taking the world's best athletes and we're doing research for traumatic brain injury. I'm taking 12 athletes to Iquitos, Peru this year, to the Ayahuasca Foundation and the University of Melbourne, Australia, is going to be collecting data for us on how ayahuasca heals the brain from these traumatic brain injuries. I'm also trying to pair them up with University of Miami because University of Miami loves me and they'll do whatever I want. So I'm really happy to have these people in my life. But check out Athletes Journey Home, donate, do whatever you can. Or if you know anyone who has traumatic brain injury, find me on social media, contact me. I read messages, whether it's little Billy got hit in the face with a baseball, or grandma hit her head in a tub, or there's an athlete that needs help. It doesn't matter. I'm here to give people some insight into how to heal their brain so they can feel better. So thank you.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast with Ian McCall. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast if you want to keep up with these episodes coming out. My favorite thing about being subscribed, I keep talking about this because it's true. It's risk-free to be subscribed. If you don't like it, you can literally unsubscribe. But I have a feeling that you're going to enjoy the next couple of episodes that we're going to put out here, okay? Thank you so much, and until next time, peace.